The morning sun cast a golden glow across the manicured lawns of Windsor Castle, where Princess Catherine stood by the tall windows of her private apartment, her delicate fingers tracing patterns on the glass. November had arrived with its crisp autumn air and the promise of change. But for Catherine, this particular November morning held special significance. Today marked King Charles's 77th birthday, and she had been quietly orchestrating something that would touch the hearts of not just the monarch, but the entire nation. Catherine had always possessed an innate understanding of the delicate balance required in royal relationships. Her journey from a commoner to the Princess of Wales had taught her the importance of meaningful gestures, especially during challenging times. The past year had been particularly difficult for the royal family, with both she and her father-in-law facing their respective battles with cancer. These shared experiences had created an unspoken bond between them, one that transcended the usual formalities of royal protocol. As she prepared for the day ahead, Catherine reflected on her relationship with Charles. When she first entered the royal fold over a decade ago, she had been nervous about gaining his approval. Charles, known for his traditional views and exacting standards, had initially seemed somewhat reserved toward his future daughter-in-law. However, over the years, their relationship had blossomed into something genuinely warm and affectionate. The king had come to see Catherine not just as William's wife, but as a vital member of the family who brought stability, grace, and a modern sensibility to the monarchy. The idea for today's surprise had come to Catherine several weeks earlier during one of her recovery periods. While undergoing her own cancer treatment, she had spent countless hours thinking about the people who mattered most to her. Charles had been incredibly supportive during her health struggles, sending personal notes of encouragement and ensuring she felt no pressure to resume royal duties before she was ready. His kindness during her darkest moments had moved her deeply, and she wanted to reciprocate that love in a way that would truly resonate with him. Catherine knew that Charles was someone who valued personal touches over grand gestures. Despite his position as king, he remained remarkably sentimental about family moments and genuine expressions of affection. She had observed how his face would light up when his grandchildren drew him pictures, or when someone remembered a small detail about his interests. This understanding had sparked the idea for what she hoped would be a perfect birthday surprise. Working alongside Prince William, Catherine had begun planning something that would celebrate not just Charles as a king, but as a father, grandfather, and beloved family member. The couple understood that this birthday held particular weight, coming as it did during Charles's ongoing cancer treatment. At 77, with the weight of the crown still relatively new on his shoulders and his health concerns ever present, Charles needed to feel the love and support of his family more than ever. The planning had required careful coordination and absolute discretion. Catherine and William had enlisted the help of only their most trusted staff members, ensuring that every detail remained secret until the moment of revelation. They had spent hours discussing what would mean the most to Charles, drawing on their intimate knowledge of his character, preferences, and current state of mind. William had been particularly moved by Catherine's dedication to making this birthday special for his father. Despite her own health challenges and the demands of their 3 young children, she had thrown herself into the planning with characteristic determination. Her attention to detail and emotional intelligence had always impressed William, but watching her navigate this delicate situation with such grace and thoughtfulness reminded him once again why he had fallen in love with her. The couple had decided that their surprise would need to accomplish several things simultaneously. It needed to show Charles how much he was loved and appreciated, provide him with a moment of pure joy during a difficult period, and demonstrate to the public the genuine affection that existed within the royal family. The last point was particularly important, as recent years had seen various challenges to the monarchy's reputation, and authentic moments of family connection could help remind people of the human side of royalty. As Catherine made her final preparations for the day, she thought about the broader context of this birthday celebration. Charles had always been someone who found meaning in tradition and continuity, but he also appreciated innovation and progress. This duality in his character had shaped his approach to kingship and his vision for the monarchy's future. Catherine and William's surprise aimed to honor both sides of his personality, creating something that felt both timeless and refreshingly contemporary. The princess knew that the success of their plan would depend not just on the surprise itself, but on the way it was executed. Timing would be crucial, as would the emotional resonance of the moment. She had learned from years of royal engagements that the most powerful moments often came from genuine, unscripted reactions, and she hoped that their surprise would create one of those magical instances that would be remembered for years to come. Meanwhile, across the castle, King Charles was beginning his own preparations for what he expected to be a fairly typical royal birthday. His schedule was packed with official engagements, including a visit to Wales where he would participate in various ceremonial duties. Despite the demands of kingship, Charles had always insisted on maintaining a busy schedule on his birthday, believing that serving the people was the best way to mark another year of life. However, Charles was unaware of the careful preparations taking place around him. His private secretary had been quietly coordinating with Catherine and William's team, ensuring that the king's schedule would allow for the surprise while maintaining the appearance of a normal day. The level of coordination required had been significant, involving not just the immediate family, but various members of the royal household who had been sworn to secrecy. As the morning progressed, Catherine felt a familiar mix of excitement and nervousness building in her chest. This feeling reminded her of her early days as a royal, when every public appearance felt like a high-stakes performance. However, this nervousness was different. It came from a place of love and the desire to create something meaningful for someone she had come to care about deeply. The relationship between Catherine and Charles had evolved significantly over the years, particularly after she became the Princess of Wales. Charles had watched with admiration as she navigated the challenges of royal life with grace and intelligence, never losing sight of her own values and priorities. Her dedication to her charitable work, her skill as a mother, and her unwavering support for William had earned his deep respect and affection. For Catherine, Charles represented both the weight of royal tradition and the possibility of positive change. She had seen how he struggled with the balance between maintaining centuries-old customs and adapting the monarchy for the modern age. His environmental advocacy, his support for various social causes, and his attempts to make the royal family more accessible and relevant had inspired her own approach to royal duties. The surprise they had planned was intended to reflect these shared values while celebrating the personal connection that had developed between them. Catherine understood that Charles appreciated gestures that came from the heart rather than obligation, and she had worked hard to ensure that every element of their surprise would feel authentic and meaningful. As she prepared to leave for the day's engagements, Catherine took a moment to look at herself in the mirror. The past year had changed her in ways both visible and invisible. The cancer diagnosis and treatment had been physically and emotionally challenging, but it had also given her a new perspective on what truly mattered. Family, health, and genuine human connection had taken on even greater significance, and she was determined to use this understanding to create moments of joy and meaning for those she loved. The irony was not lost on her that she and Charles had both faced similar health challenges in the same year. While their diagnoses and treatments had been different, the experience of confronting mortality and uncertainty had created a shared understanding between them. They had both learned to appreciate the precious nature of time and the importance of expressing love and gratitude while they could. This shared experience had influenced the nature of their surprise for Charles' birthday. Rather than focusing solely on celebration, Catherine and William had wanted to create something that acknowledged the deeper currents running through their family's recent experiences. They wanted to honor Charles's resilience, his continued dedication to duty despite his health challenges, and the love that bound their family together through difficult times. The morning's final preparations included a brief conversation with William, during which they reviewed the timeline for the day and confirmed that all elements were in place. Both of them felt the weight of anticipation, knowing that in just a few hours they would reveal something that had required weeks of careful planning and coordination. The success of their surprise would depend not just on the logistics, but on their ability to create a moment of genuine emotion and connection. As Catherine prepared to step out into the crisp November morning, she carried with her not just the excitement of the surprise to come, but a deep sense of gratitude for the relationships that had sustained her family through recent challenges. Today would be about celebrating Charles, but it would also be a celebration of family bonds, resilience in the face of adversity, and the power of love to transcend the formal structures of royal life. The stage was set for a birthday surprise that would touch hearts far beyond the walls of the royal residences, creating a moment of genuine warmth and affection that would remind the world of the human face of monarchy. Catherine and William's carefully planned gesture was about to unfold, promising to make Charles's 77th birthday not just memorable, but deeply meaningful in ways that only family could provide. The crisp November air carried the scent of autumn leaves as King Charles stepped out of his official vehicle at Cyfarthfa Castle in South Wales. The historic castle, with its imposing stone walls and rich heritage dating back to 1825, provided a magnificent backdrop for what was planned to be a day of official engagement celebrating both his 77th birthday and the castle's 200th anniversary. Charles, dressed impeccably in a navy suit despite the threatening rain clouds overhead, moved with the measured dignity that had become his trademark since ascending to the throne. What the king didn't realize was that miles away, Catherine and William were putting the finishing touches on a surprise that would transform this routine birthday engagement into something far more personal and meaningful. The couple had spent weeks coordinating with Charles's private secretary and the castle's event organizers to ensure that their surprise would unfold seamlessly within the day's official program. As Charles was greeted by local dignitaries and enthusiastic well-wishers who had gathered despite the inclement weather, Catherine was making final adjustments to a special video message that would serve as the centerpiece of their surprise. The video, which had been filmed over several sessions at various royal residences, featured intimate moments with Charles's grandchildren and personal messages from family members who couldn't be present for the celebration. The idea for the video had originated from Catherine's understanding of what truly moved Charles emotionally. She had observed over the years how his stern public demeanor would soften completely when he interacted with his grandchildren. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis had a unique ability to bring out Charles's playful side, and Catherine had recognized this as the key to creating something that would genuinely touch his heart. Working with William, Catherine had carefully orchestrated filming sessions with the children, capturing them in moments of natural interaction and genuine affection as they prepared birthday messages for their grandfather. The process had been delicate, requiring patience and creativity to ensure the children felt comfortable and authentic rather than performing for the cameras. Catherine's experience as a mother and her natural ability to connect with children had been invaluable in creating these precious moments. The video also included contributions from other members of the royal family who wanted to participate in honoring Charles on his special day. Each message had been carefully crafted to reflect genuine sentiment while maintaining the dignity appropriate for royal communications. Catherine had personally reached out to each family member, explaining the vision for the surprise and requesting their participation in creating something meaningful for Charles. Meanwhile, at Cyfarthfa Castle, Charles was participating in a guided reading program with local primary school children, unaware that his every reaction was being observed by staff members who were in communication with Catherine and William's team. The couple had arranged for trusted personnel to be present at the castle, ready to facilitate the surprise at precisely the right moment. The timing of the surprise had been meticulously planned to coincide with a brief break in Charles's official schedule. Catherine and William understood that the impact of their gesture would depend largely on catching the king in a relaxed moment, when his guard was down and he could receive their surprise with genuine emotion, rather than the measured responses required during formal engagements. As Charles interacted with the schoolchildren, reading stories and discussing literature with them, those observing couldn't help but notice the genuine joy on his face. Despite the weight of recent challenges, including his ongoing cancer treatment and the various demands of kingship, Charles maintained his commitment to connecting with people, particularly young people who represented the future of the nation he served. Catherine had specifically chosen this engagement as the setting for their surprise because she knew how much Charles valued education and literacy programs. His passion for encouraging reading among young people was well documented, and she felt that delivering their surprise in this context would add another layer of meaning to the moment. The combination of Charles's genuine enthusiasm for the official engagement and the unexpected personal gesture from his family would create the perfect emotional resonance. The technical aspects of delivering the surprise had required considerable coordination. Catherine and William's team had worked with the castle's audio-visual specialists to ensure that the video could be presented seamlessly during the appropriate moment. Backup systems had been put in place to account for any technical difficulties, and trusted staff members had been positioned strategically to manage the logistics while maintaining the element of surprise. As the morning progressed, Catherine found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought her family to this point. The past year had tested them in ways they could never have anticipated. Her own cancer diagnosis had been a profound shock, not just to her personally, but to the entire family. Charles's reaction to her illness had revealed the depth of his care for her, and his support throughout her treatment had strengthened their relationship immeasurably. The shared experience of facing serious health challenges had created a unique bond between Catherine and her father-in-law. Both had experienced the vulnerability that comes with serious illness, the uncertainty about the future, and the appreciation for life's precious moments that such experiences often bring. This shared understanding had informed every aspect of the surprise Catherine and William had planned. William, too, had been deeply affected by watching both his wife and father navigate health challenges in the same year. The young prince, who had already lost his mother at a tender age, found himself confronting the possibility of further loss while trying to support his young family and fulfill his own royal duties. The experience had matured him and deepened his appreciation for family connections. The couple's surprise for Charles was, in many ways, a reflection of their own growth through adversity. They had learned to value authentic moments of connection over formal gestures, and they wanted to give Charles something that would speak to his heart, rather than simply fulfill social expectations. The video they had created was filled with spontaneous moments, genuine laughter, and expressions of love that couldn't be scripted or manufactured. As the time approached for the surprise, Catherine felt a familiar flutter of nervous excitement. She was monitoring the situation at the castle remotely, receiving updates from their coordinating team about Charles's movements and mood. The plan was to present the video during what appeared to be a natural break in the proceedings, making it seem like a spontaneous gesture rather than an elaborately planned surprise. The psychological impact of the surprise was something Catherine had considered carefully. Charles, despite his public role, was fundamentally a private person who valued genuine sentiment over grand gestures. The surprise needed to feel intimate and personal, even though it would ultimately be shared with the public as part of the day's coverage. Catherine understood that Charles would appreciate the thought and effort that had gone into the surprise, but even more, he would be moved by the love and affection it represented. The video itself was a masterpiece of family storytelling. It opened with young Prince Louis, barely 7 years old, attempting to sing Happy Birthday to his grandfather, with the earnest concentration that only a child could bring to such a task. His innocent mistakes and genuine enthusiasm set the tone for the entire presentation, immediately establishing an atmosphere of warmth and authenticity. Princess Charlotte followed with a more composed but equally heartfelt message in which she shared a memory of a recent visit to see her grandfather and expressed her love for him in the direct way that children naturally possess. Her natural poise and articulate expression reflected the careful guidance of her parents while maintaining the genuine affection that made the message so powerful. Prince George, as the eldest grandchild, delivered a message that showed his growing understanding of his grandfather's role as king while maintaining the personal warmth appropriate for a family celebration. His words reflected both respect for the monarchy and genuine affection for Charles as a grandfather, capturing the delicate balance that defined the royal family's personal relationships. Catherine herself appeared in the video, speaking with the warmth and sincerity that had made her such a beloved figure. Her message to Charles acknowledged both his role as king and his importance as a family member, expressing gratitude for his support during her health challenges and her admiration for his strength in facing his own difficulties. The emotional authenticity of her words would prove to be one of the most powerful elements of the surprise. William's contribution to the video struck a perfect balance between filial respect and genuine affection. As the heir to the throne, his relationship with his father carried additional complexity, but his message managed to convey both his pride in Charles's leadership and his love for him as a father. The sincerity in William's voice and the obvious care he had taken in crafting his words would add significant emotional weight to the presentation. As Charles concluded his reading session with the schoolchildren at Cyfarthfa Castle, the moment for the surprise had arrived. The coordinating team moved into position, preparing to transform what appeared to be a routine break in the proceedings into something extraordinary. Catherine, monitoring from afar, felt her heart racing as she realized that years of planning and weeks of careful preparation were about to culminate in a single moment of truth. The success of their surprise would be measured not in public reaction or media coverage, but in the genuine emotion it would evoke from a man who had dedicated his life to service and who deserved to feel the love and appreciation of his family on this special day. Everything Catherine and William had worked for was about to unfold in the historic setting of Cyfarthfa Castle. surrounded by the warmth of community celebration and the promise of a birthday surprise that would touch hearts far beyond the immediate family. The moment of truth arrived, as King Charles settled into his chair for what he believed would be a brief respite between official engagements at Cyfarthfa Castle. The ornate reception room, with its rich Victorian decor and panoramic views of the Welsh countryside, provided an intimate setting within the grand castle. Local dignitaries and invited guests filled the space, their conversations creating a gentle buzz of anticipation. Though none, except a carefully selected few, knew what was about to unfold. Charles appeared relaxed and content as he engaged in quiet conversation with Queen Camilla, who had accompanied him for the day's celebrations. Despite the challenges of recent months, including his ongoing cancer treatment, the king seemed genuinely energized by the morning's interactions with the school children and the warmth of the Welsh welcome. His eyes held a brightness that those close to him had learned to treasure, knowing how precious such moments of genuine joy had become. The castle's event coordinator, who had been secretly briefed by Catherine and William's team weeks earlier, approached Charles with what appeared to be a routine announcement about the afternoon's schedule. However, her words carried a carefully rehearsed message that would signal the beginning of the surprise. She mentioned that a special presentation had been prepared by the local community to honor his birthday, a statement that was technically true, but deliberately vague about the true nature of what was to come. As the room's attention focused on the large screen that had been discreetly installed for the occasion, Charles maintained the polite interest that he showed for all such presentations. Years of royal protocol had taught him to receive community tributes with grace and appreciation, regardless of their content or quality. He had no reason to suspect that this presentation would be fundamentally different from countless others he had received throughout his decades of public service. The screen flickered to life, and for a brief moment, Charles's expression remained neutral and expectant. However, as the first images appeared showing the familiar surroundings of Windsor Castle's private apartments, a subtle change crossed his features. The recognition that this was not a community presentation but something more personal began to dawn on him, though he had not yet grasped the full scope of what Catherine and William had prepared. Young Prince Louis appeared on screen first, his cherubic face filling the frame with an expression of intense concentration as he prepared to deliver his birthday message. The sight of his youngest grandson immediately transformed Charles's demeanor, his formal composure softening into something far more vulnerable and personal. Those who knew him well could see the immediate emotional impact of seeing Louis in such an intimate setting, speaking directly to him with the uninhibited affection that only a child could express. Louis began his message with the endearing stumble over words that made him so beloved by the family. His attempt to wish his grandfather happy birthday became a charming mix of carefully rehearsed phrases and spontaneous expressions of love. The child's natural tendency to go off script, talking about his favorite memories of visiting grandfather and his hopes for future adventures together, created moments of such authentic sweetness that several guests in the castle reception room could be seen dabbing at their eyes. Charles's reaction was immediate and profound. The careful composure that he maintained in public began to crack as he watched his grandson's earnest expressions of love and birthday wishes. His hand moved unconsciously to cover his mouth, a gesture that those who knew him recognized as his way of maintaining control when overcome by emotion. Queen Camilla, sitting beside him, reached over to place a gentle hand on his arm, recognizing the depth of his reaction to this unexpected gift. Princess Charlotte appeared next on screen, and her portion of the video showcased the remarkable poise and intelligence that had made her such a favorite within the family. Her birthday message was more structured than Louis, reflecting her growing maturity, but it retained the genuine warmth that made it deeply moving. She spoke about her special memories with her grandfather, including recent visits where he had shared his love of gardening and art with her. Charlotte's message included a particularly touching moment where she had drawn a picture specifically for his birthday, holding it up to the camera with obvious pride in her creation. The drawing, which depicted the two of them walking through the gardens at Highgrove House, Charles's beloved country home, captured not just artistic talent, but a child's understanding of what brought her grandfather joy. The innocent accuracy of her depiction of their shared interests and activities demonstrated the genuine connection that existed between them. As Charlotte's segment continued, Charles's emotional response deepened visibly. Colleagues and friends who had worked with him for years later commented that they had rarely seen him so openly moved. The combination of surprise, love, and the precious nature of these recorded moments with his grandchildren created an emotional perfect storm that no amount of royal training could have prepared him to handle with complete composure. Prince George's appearance on screen marked another escalation in the emotional intensity of the surprise. As the eldest grandchild and future heir, George's relationship with his grandfather carried additional significance, and his birthday message reflected a growing understanding of both family bonds and royal responsibility. His words demonstrated remarkable maturity for his age while maintaining the genuine affection that made the message so powerful. George spoke about his admiration for his grandfather's dedication to service and his gratitude for the time Charles spent with him during family gatherings. He mentioned specific instances where Charles had taught him about history, nature, and the responsibilities that would one day be his to bear. The sophisticated understanding that George displayed of his grandfather's role, combined with his obvious personal affection, created a message that was both touching and profound. The technical quality of the video itself reflected the careful attention to detail that Catherine and William had brought to every aspect of the surprise. Shot in various locations that held special meaning for the family, including the private gardens at Kensington Palace and quiet corners of Windsor Castle, the video created an intimate atmosphere that drew viewers into the family's private world. The lighting and sound quality were professional without feeling overproduced, maintaining the authentic personal feeling that was so crucial to the surprise's emotional impact. Catherine had worked closely with trusted photographers and videographers who had captured family moments for years, ensuring that the technical team understood the importance of preserving the natural, unguarded moments that would make the video so special. As the children's messages concluded, the video transitioned to segments featuring Catherine and William themselves. Catherine appeared first, speaking from what was clearly a private moment in their family's daily life. Her message to Charles carried particular weight, given their shared experience of facing serious health challenges in the same year. Her words acknowledged not just his role as king and grandfather, but his strength as a person who had faced adversity with dignity and grace. Catherine's portion of the video was carefully crafted to express several layers of meaning simultaneously. She spoke as a daughter-in-law who had come to love and respect her husband's father, as a mother grateful for the grandfather Charles had become to her children, and as someone who had experienced his personal kindness during her own difficult health journey. Her natural warmth and sincerity shone through every word, creating a message that was both personal and profound. The princess also included references to specific memories and shared experiences that would be meaningful only to Charles, demonstrating the thought and care that had gone into every aspect of the video. She mentioned his support during her cancer treatment, his patience in teaching her about royal protocol during her early years in the family, and her admiration for the way he had embraced his role as king while maintaining his dedication to environmental and social causes. William's segment followed, and his message carried the additional emotional weight of their father-son relationship. Speaking with obvious sincerity and affection, William addressed Charles not just as his father, but as a role model and mentor who had prepared him for his own future responsibilities. His words reflected both personal love and professional respect, acknowledging the sacrifices Charles had made throughout his life in service to the monarchy and the nation. The prince's message also touched on the challenges they had faced as a family in recent months, expressing gratitude for Charles's leadership during difficult times and his unwavering commitment to duty despite his health concerns. William's natural eloquence and the obvious care he had taken in preparing his words created one of the most moving segments of the entire video. As the video continued to unfold, those watching Charles could see the cumulative emotional impact building. His initial surprise had given way to deep emotional engagement with each segment, and by the time William's message concluded, the king was visibly struggling to maintain his composure. The public setting made his emotional response even more remarkable, as Charles had spent decades perfecting his ability to maintain dignity and control in all circumstances. The setting at Windsor Castle added another layer of meaning to the moment. The historic castle, with its own stories of family legacy and endurance through changing times, provided a perfect backdrop for a celebration that honored both personal relationships and institutional continuity. The fact that Charles was receiving this intimate family tribute in such a public historic setting created a powerful juxtaposition between private emotion and public duty. Queen Camilla's presence beside Charles during this emotional moment provided both support and witness to the profound impact of Catherine and William's surprise. Her own visible emotion at watching her husband's reaction added another dimension to the scene, demonstrating the genuine family connections that existed beyond the formal structures of royal protocol. The video's conclusion brought a moment of profound silence to the reception room at Cyfarthfa Castle, as guests processed what they had just witnessed. King Charles sat motionless for several seconds, his hand still covering his mouth, his eyes glistening with unshed tears that spoke to the deep emotional impact of his family's surprise. The carefully maintained royal composure that had been his armor for decades had been gently but completely dismantled by the pure love expressed in his grandchildren's voices and his son and daughter-in-law's heartfelt words. Queen Camilla, understanding the significance of the moment, was the first to break the spell. She leaned toward Charles and whispered something inaudible to the gathered guests, but her gentle smile and the way she squeezed his hand suggested words of comfort and encouragement. Charles turned to look at her, and for a brief moment, the intimate exchange between husband and wife reminded everyone present that beneath the crowns and titles were simply two people who had found love and companionship in their later years. The king's attempt to regain his composure was visible to all present, but rather than diminishing his dignity, his obvious emotion only enhanced the authentic humanity of the moment. When he finally spoke, his voice carried a slight tremor that revealed the depth of his feelings. His first words were simple but profound. "How extraordinarily thoughtful and beautiful. How did they manage to keep this secret from me?" The question prompted gentle laughter from those present, breaking some of the emotional tension while acknowledging the elaborate coordination that had been required to pull off such a surprise. Charles's genuine amazement at the logistics of the surprise revealed his appreciation not just for the sentiment, but for the care and effort that had gone into creating something so personal and meaningful. As the immediate emotional impact began to settle, Charles started to process the different elements of what he had just experienced. He spoke about each of his grandchildren individually, commenting on their growth, their personalities, and the specific things they had said that had touched him most deeply. His detailed reactions demonstrated how carefully he had absorbed every word, every gesture, every expression of love that the video had contained. The king's comments about Prince Louis focused on the child's uninhibited joy and natural charm, qualities that Charles found both endearing and inspiring. He mentioned how Louis reminded him of William at the same age, noting the family resemblances that continued across generations. His observations revealed not just a grandfather's love, but a keen awareness of family legacy and continuity that was so important to someone in his position. Regarding Princess Charlotte, Charles expressed particular appreciation for her thoughtful approach to her birthday message and the drawing she had created specifically for him. He spoke about their shared interests in art and nature, revealing the depth of the personal relationship he had developed with each grandchild based on their individual personalities and interests. His pride in Charlotte's developing character and intelligence was evident in every word. Prince George's message had clearly affected Charles in a unique way, given the special significance of their relationship as future monarchs. The king's comments about his eldest grandson revealed both personal affection and a recognition of the remarkable maturity George was developing. Charles spoke about the importance of family support in preparing for the responsibilities that would one day be George's, acknowledging the role that Catherine and William were playing in nurturing their son's understanding of his future duties. The discussion naturally turned to Catherine and William themselves, and Charles's gratitude for their thoughtfulness became the central theme of his response. He spoke about the challenges they had all faced as a family in recent months, making particular reference to Catherine's health struggles and the way she had continued to think of others even during her own difficult times. His words revealed the deep respect and affection he had developed for his daughter-in-law over the years. Charles's comments about William carried additional emotional weight, reflecting both the personal father-son relationship and their evolving professional partnership as current and future monarchs. The king spoke about his pride in watching William develop into the leader he was becoming, and his gratitude for the support William had provided during his own health challenges. The mutual respect and affection between father and son was evident in every word Charles spoke. The spontaneous nature of Charles's response, coming as it did immediately after such an emotional surprise, revealed aspects of his character that the public rarely had the opportunity to witness. His genuine emotion, his detailed attention to what each family member had said, and his obvious gratitude for their thoughtfulness demonstrated the warm, caring family man behind the royal persona. Meanwhile, back at Windsor Castle, Catherine and William were receiving real-time updates about their surprise's reception through their coordinating team. The descriptions of Charles's emotional response confirmed that their carefully planned gesture had achieved exactly the impact they had hoped for. Catherine, in particular, felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing that they had been able to give Charles a moment of pure joy during what had been a challenging year. The couple's decision to remain at a distance during the surprise's delivery had been deliberate, allowing Charles to experience the moment without feeling the need to perform or respond in any particular way for their benefit. By receiving the surprise in the company of Camilla and the assembled guests at Cyfarthfa Castle, Charles was free to react authentically without the additional emotional complexity that might have come with Catherine and William being physically present. The media coverage of the event, which began almost immediately as images and accounts of Charles's reaction spread through news networks and social media, captured the public imagination in a way that surprised even experienced royal watchers. The authentic emotion displayed by the king, combined with the obvious love and thought that had gone into the surprise, created a narrative that resonated far beyond typical royal birthday coverage. Social media platforms were filled with comments from people who had been moved by Charles's visible emotion and the family's obvious affection for one another. Many commented on how the surprise had revealed a more human side of the royal family, showing them as people who experienced the same love, challenges, and family bonds as everyone else. The authenticity of the moment struck a chord with audiences who were often skeptical of royal family interactions. The surprise also generated significant discussion about Catherine and William's approach to royal family relationships. Royal commentators noted how the couple had managed to create something that honored both personal family bonds and public expectations, demonstrating their growing skill at navigating the complex demands of modern royalty. Their ability to orchestrate something so personal, while maintaining appropriate dignity and respect for royal protocol, was widely praised. The timing of the surprise, coming during Charles's ongoing cancer treatment and in the context of Catherine's own recent health challenges, added additional layers of meaning to the gesture. Many observers noted how the shared experience of facing serious illness had clearly strengthened family bonds and created a deeper appreciation for expressions of love and support. The video's production quality and emotional authenticity also received significant attention, with many noting how Catherine and William had managed to create something that felt both professional and intimate. The careful attention to detail, from the choice of locations to the natural interactions with the children, demonstrated their understanding of how to create meaningful content that would resonate with both family members and the broader public. As the day continued at Cyfarthfa Castle, Charles carried the emotional impact of the surprise with him through his remaining engagements. Guests and officials noted a particular warmth and energy in his interactions, as if the love expressed in the video had recharged his spirits and renewed his enthusiasm for his duties. The contrast between his demeanor before and after the surprise was remarkable and spoke to the profound impact the gesture had achieved. The king's ability to transition from the deeply personal moment of the surprise back to his official duties demonstrated his professional skill and emotional resilience. However, those close to him could see that the surprise had left a lasting impact, evident in the occasional smile that would cross his face as he remembered particular moments from the video. Queen Camilla's role throughout the day became another touching element of the story. Her support for Charles during the emotional moment of the surprise, and her obvious pleasure at seeing him so moved by his family's love, added another dimension to the narrative. The genuine partnership between the king and queen was evident in how naturally she had provided comfort and support during such an intimate moment. The success of Catherine and William's surprise had exceeded even their own expectations. What they had hoped would be a meaningful gesture for Charles had become something much larger, a demonstration of authentic family love that had touched not just the intended recipient, but countless observers around the world. The surprise had achieved the perfect balance between personal sentiment and public inspiration, creating a moment that would be remembered as one of the most touching royal family interactions in recent memory. The evening following the surprise at Cyfarthfa Castle brought a profound sense of reflection to the royal family. As King Charles returned to his private quarters, accompanied by Queen Camilla, the emotional resonance of the day's unexpected gift continued to reverberate through his thoughts. The formal birthday celebrations had concluded successfully, but it was the intimate family tribute that dominated his recollections of this 77th milestone. Charles spent considerable time that evening reviewing the video that Catherine and William had created, watching it multiple times to absorb details that had been lost in the emotional intensity of the initial viewing. Each replay revealed new nuances in his grandchildren's expressions, fresh appreciation for the thoughtful words his son and daughter-in-law had chosen, and a deeper understanding of the love and effort that had gone into creating such a meaningful surprise. The king's private secretary later noted that Charles had requested copies of the video to be prepared for his personal archive, ensuring that this precious family moment would be preserved for future viewings. This attention to preservation reflected not just the immediate emotional impact of the surprise, but Charles's recognition that it represented something significant about his family's evolution and the bonds that sustained them through challenging times. Meanwhile, Catherine and William spent their own evening reflecting on the success of their carefully orchestrated surprise. The feedback they had received throughout the day, both from their coordinating team at Cyfarthfa Castle and from the media coverage that was already emerging, confirmed that their gesture had achieved exactly the emotional impact they had hoped for. More importantly, they knew that Charles had been genuinely moved by their expression of love and appreciation. The couple's children were brought into the celebration of their successful surprise, with Catherine and William explaining to Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis how their grandfather had reacted to seeing their birthday messages. The children's delight at learning they had made their grandfather so happy added another layer of joy to the family's satisfaction with the day's events. Young Prince Louis, in particular, was fascinated by the description of his grandfather's emotional reaction, asking repeatedly whether Grandpa really liked my singing, and expressing eagerness to create more video messages for future occasions. His innocent enthusiasm for connecting with his grandfather through such personal gestures suggested that this birthday surprise might become the foundation for new family traditions. Princess Charlotte demonstrated her characteristic thoughtfulness by asking detailed questions about what specific parts of the video had most affected her grandfather. Her desire to understand the emotional impact of her contribution revealed the empathy and consideration that had already become hallmarks of her character, traits that would serve her well in her future royal role. Prince George's response to hearing about the surprise's success showed his growing understanding of the significance of family relationships within the royal context. His questions about how such gestures fit within royal protocol and his observations about the importance of family support for public service demonstrated the sophisticated thinking that was developing as he matured. The success of the surprise also prompted broader reflection within the royal household about the importance of personal connections in sustaining the monarchy's relevance and appeal. Staff members who had witnessed Charles's emotional reaction commented on how rarely they had seen him so visibly moved, and how the authenticity of the moment had reminded them of the human foundations that supported the institutional structures of royalty. The video's impact extended far beyond the immediate family, as clips and images from Charles's reaction began circulating widely on social media platforms. The public response was overwhelmingly positive, with many people expressing appreciation for seeing such genuine emotion from the king. Comments frequently mentioned how the surprise had made the royal family seem more relatable and human, bridging the gap between their public roles and private relationships. Royal commentators noted that Catherine and William's approach to the surprise demonstrated their growing sophistication in managing the complex balance between public expectations and private family life. Their ability to create something deeply personal that also resonated with public audiences suggested a mature understanding of modern royal communications and relationship management. The surprise also prompted reflection on the evolution of royal family dynamics over the past decade. Charles's emotional response to his family's gesture stood in marked contrast to the more reserved family interactions that had characterized earlier eras of the monarchy. The warmth and openness displayed in the video and Charles's reaction to it represented a significant shift toward more emotionally authentic royal family relationships. This evolution was particularly significant given the challenges the royal family had faced in recent years. The combination of health crises, family tensions, and public scrutiny had tested the institution in various ways. Catherine and William's surprise for Charles demonstrated how personal bonds and authentic expressions of love could serve as sources of strength and renewal during difficult periods. The birthday surprise also highlighted Catherine's unique role within the royal family. as someone who had brought both stability and innovation to traditional structures. Her ability to conceive and execute such a meaningful gesture, while respecting royal protocol and dignity, showcased the diplomatic and emotional intelligence that had made her such a valuable addition to the family. William's collaboration with Catherine on the surprise reflected the partnership approach that characterized their marriage and their shared approach to royal duties. Their ability to work together on such a personal project while managing their individual responsibilities demonstrated the strong foundation that supported their public role as future monarchs. The long-term impact of the surprise extended beyond the immediate emotional gratification it provided to Charles. The video created a permanent record of family relationships at a particular moment in time, capturing the children at specific ages and the family dynamics during a period of both challenge and growth. This documentation would become increasingly precious as years passed and family circumstances evolved. The surprise also established a new benchmark for royal family celebrations, suggesting that future milestone events might incorporate similar personal touches that honored both individual relationships and broader family bonds. The success of Catherine and William's approach could influence how the royal family marked future birthdays, anniversaries, and other significant occasions. The technical aspects of the surprise's execution became a subject of interest among royal protocol experts, who noted how modern technology had been used to enhance rather than replace traditional forms of family connection. The video represented a contemporary approach to expressing timeless sentiments, demonstrating how the royal family could adapt modern tools while maintaining the dignity and significance appropriate to their position. The media coverage of the surprise continued for several days following the birthday celebration, with various news outlets analyzing different aspects of the gesture and its significance. The sustained interest reflected both the immediate appeal of the story and its broader implications for understanding royal family relationships and communication strategies. International coverage of the surprise was particularly extensive, with royal families from other nations taking note of the approach Catherine and William had taken. The balance between intimacy and public accessibility that the surprise achieved was seen as a model for how modern royalty could maintain relevance while preserving dignity and tradition. As the weeks following Charles's birthday unfolded, the impact of the surprise continued to resonate within the royal family. Charles was observed to be in particularly good spirits during subsequent public engagements, with staff noting an increased energy and enthusiasm in his approach to official duties. The emotional boost provided by his family's gesture appeared to have lasting effects on his outlook and demeanor. Catherine and William found that the success of their surprise had deepened their relationship with Charles and strengthened their position within the family structure. The king's gratitude for their thoughtfulness translated into increased collaboration on royal projects and a greater sense of partnership in managing the monarchy's future direction. The birthday surprise ultimately became more than just a single gesture of family affection. It evolved into a symbol of the royal family's capacity for authentic emotion and genuine connection. In an era when public institutions often struggled with questions of relevance and authenticity, Catherine and William's surprise for Charles demonstrated how personal bonds and sincere expressions of love could bridge the gap between individual relationships and institutional responsibilities. The lasting legacy of the surprise would extend far beyond the immediate celebration, establishing a new standard for royal family interactions and creating a template for how modern monarchy could honor tradition while embracing contemporary approaches to communication and relationship building. The success of Catherine and William's thoughtful gesture proved that the most powerful royal moments often came not from grand ceremonies or formal protocols, but from simple expressions of love shared between family members who understood the importance of supporting one another through life's challenges and celebrations.